Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Pig's Ear in Review with your hosts, Myshtuff and Riku Rose. How you going?
Good man, you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. So, we're welcome back to the weekly review of everything that we've been kind of looking at over the last week or so, from games to movies. Maybe eventually I'll talk about some comics. I got a couple here next to me right now as well, but maybe it'll be for a future episode for anyone who actually cares about comics and maybe some anime every once in a while. But yeah, today we got four more things we're going to be talking about, and just give us all you guys our thoughts and see what everyone thinks about it. So, first one to start off with for me is Horizon Forbidden West. So, did you? I can't remember. Did you play the first one or no?
I did. I thought it was very okay.
Yeah, yeah. And then, do you have any interest in ever playing the second one?
No, because I look at it and nothing about it looks different enough to get me excited
Hmm.
for a game that I thought was just okay.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess really quick before getting into this, because this actually might this what I'm about to say I think will also affect the next thing I'm going to be talking about. So open world games for me, generally speaking, are not my thing. I can have fun with them, like even just doing the main story, and I don't need to worry about all the extra side crap unless it's like compelling enough. But for the most part, most games don't compel me enough to actually care about like side missions and all that sort of stuff. So like the first Horizon, I was kind of the same way. Like I did enjoy it. I thought the world was pretty neat. The enemies were pretty cool. But I of course just did like the main story, and I think I got the DLC because it was on sale or something like that. But I mean, I guess did you think that maybe the story aside, did you like the world of it, or even that was like okay for you?
Even that was a bit. I like the whole like kind of dinosaur machine thing. That was pretty cool.
Mhm.
But it sort of did that whole thing that movies and TV shows that are set in like 1910, 1920 do, where they kind of wink
Mhm.
and nod at the audience, like, oh, no one could possibly control or invent a machine. These are wild beasts. Wink, wink.
Right.
And you're like, okay, I get it. Like, they don't know they're idiots.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of, suspended my disbelief maybe a little bit more than I should have, I suppose. But like it was enough where I was like, okay, it's fine. I enjoyed it. So the reason why I got the second one is because I actually saw I surprisingly got it at a pretty decent price for like $35 online for like brand new for PS5 because it was through
That's
eBay,
good.
and I was like, well. Yeah, I was like, all right, you know what? That's not that bad of a price to try it out for basically another brand new PS5 game, even though you can play it on the PS4. But I tried it out, and I will say on the PS5, the game looks like stunning. Like it looks absolutely incredible. Look in unparalleled in terms of many other games out right now. I know I said that about Demon Souls last time, but this game definitely looks really good. But gameplay is basically identical to the last one, which is fine. I'm not saying they have to like. I wouldn't expect them to massively
Yeah.
like shift it by any means, but I wouldn't say it's that different either. I mean, like I said, you know what you're expecting when you're getting into this game, and this is just continuing right where the last one left off. But now you're going to the Forbidden West, as the title implies. So you're kind of going out west towards like California and actually like San Francisco. You basically go there for a little bit and just it's just to explore another area basically. And it's clear like story wise that it's very much like this is the middle of a trilogy, so it's there's another cliffhanger at the end, and I mean, it's a neat cliffhanger, I guess. Like, it's not like holy shit, like I never saw this coming type of thing, but it was fine. I mean, it was kind of like just nothing that different, pretty much
Yeah.
either. Like, yeah, it's another okay game in terms of the gameplay wise. Once again, it looks great, it plays great, like super fast on the PS5. It's like it's not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not anything that's like wowing me. And another thing is, and it's funny to kind of think about it. The last Horizon came out at the same time as Breath of the Wild, and I feel like that overshadowed it. And then once
Yeah.
again, this game came out at the same time as Elden Ring, and that overshadowed this game too, which I think is just they just have like the worst luck with being compared to other open world games that come out at the exact same time.
So do we think like Half-Life 4 is going to come out like when
just
Horizon
put
3
the
comes out?
just put the nail in the coffin of like, all right, we're done with this series.
Gabe Newell's just like,
So
fuck you, Sen.
yeah, fuck this. Get out of here. So I mean, ultimately, if you like the first one, you're gonna love this game, like for sure. It's not, once again, not a bad game. It's certainly not a step down from the last one. You're definitely getting more of that feel. And if you like that open world aspect, there's a lot of neat environments and all that sort of stuff. But I think really what this is coming down to, like I said a minute ago, is open world games just don't do it for me. I would much rather have a focused linear narrative experience. And the thing is, like, and maybe this is a topic I think I've mentioned to you, we can do maybe a separate time about linear versus open world games, but like the idea of replayability to me doesn't mean an infinite amount of stupid side quests. It means, like, for example, Shenmue, I've played that a dozen times and I can keep playing that. There's not a bajillion side quests. I mean, Yakuza games, granted, they have side quests, but you could still say like the main narrative would compel you to kind of keep playing it
Yeah.
potentially as well, or Last of Us and stuff like that. So I don't know. How do you feel? I guess in a quick summary, your take on those types of games.
Yeah, when you start an open world game and you press the start button and you see the menu and there's just 100 dots of things to do,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't make me go, oh my god, so much content. That makes me go like, okay, what if this is actually worth doing?
Yeah,
Like it's just
exactly. It's
you just look at it and you're like, okay, like maybe 10% of this. I'm not a big platinum trophy 1,000
right.
gamer score guy, so I'm not like
Mm-hmm.
I have to do everything. I look at my backlog and I think, right, what am I doing to get out of this game before I move on to the next thing? And it just doesn't hit the spot for me like for some people.
Yeah, it's almost like anxiety inducing. Like you see it and you're like, "Oh my god." Like if anything, in some cases, if the main story isn't compelling enough, it
Mhm.
almost prohibits me from moving forward at all in the game, and I'm like, this is just too much and I'm just going to put this game down, and it's like not even worth it. But fortunately with Horizon, I kind of got through it, and at times I'll say it was a bit of a slog, I guess, but overwhelmingly, or I would say I got through it. I thought it was fun. Boss fights were interesting. um, but yeah, it was basically just wait for this game to go on sale, honestly, unless you're super compelled to just play these games, is kind of my take on it. I would say it's not thumbs down or up, kind of thumbs maybe 10 degrees up.
Yeah,
A little bit.
I feel like certain games, like the review, you don't need to make a separate review for the game. Your review can be, did you like the last one? Yeah,
Yeah.
then go for it. Like,
Yeah, exactly. So if you got a PS5 especially, and you kind of just want something new that'll definitely showcase the PS5, then yeah, definitely go for it as well.
well, it's on
It'll
PS4 as well, right? Yeah,
It
yeah.
is. And actually, I guess I haven't looked up graphics comparisons between the versions, but like the thing is, PS4, especially the PS4 Pro, still looks fucking phenomenal with a
Yeah.
lot of games. Like it's not like you're comparing like the Atari 2600 to like a PS5 or something like that. Like it looks fine.
Well, the first Horizon still looks great as well.
Hmm.
So,
It does.
like, yeah, they could pretty much make it look exactly the game, and I'd still say, like, that's a good looking game for 2022.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, I mean, with PS5, the other piece is kind of the haptics of the DualSense controller and kind of how it feels. And yeah, it adds. It's not like that would in its own would compel me to go get that version per se. But if you happen to have a PS5, you may as well get that version anyways. Or actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is one of the games where you can do a PS5 upgrade if you just buy the PS4
Yeah,
version cheaper. So that's another way to get it cheap as well. So.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, overall, like I said, play it if you like the last one. You're not necessarily going to be blown away per se, but it was fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, over to you.
Okay, so Mario Kart 8 DLC. So I think this game's like 20 years old at this point.
It feels like it's crazy.
It,
When did it come out on Wii U?
I want to say 2013, 2014?
Probably. It wouldn't surprise me, which is insane to think about.
Yeah, yeah, that is crazy to think about, actually. Um, but yeah, no, so they've released so far just 8 new tracks, but they've said
Mm-hmm.
overall there's going to be 48. I want to say.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So essentially, we are getting a new Mario Kart game in the form of DLC because there was 48 tracks on the original
Mm-hmm.
game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's great. You've played it as well, you said,
Yep.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's all classic tracks. And there is one new one called like Ninja's Hideaway or something. The one where you're on like multiple levels,
So
where
is
you're
that
on the
is that
rooftop.
actually? But is that actually a new one, or was that in the mobile game?
No,
I can't
because
remember.
that was it. Every track, I was like, oh yeah, like because it'd say like World Tour or N64, but for that one, it had
Right.
nothing.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that is a brand new track, and that is awesome. I love that
Mm-hmm.
one because you
Yeah,
got
that was
people up on
fun.
the top, you got people underneath, and you're racing along. Just I don't like people want Mario Kart 9. I don't know what they can do to make this game better.
So
Like,
I was going to ask you that here in just a second. I'll give you my thoughts on that in just a moment because I think I have a direction they could go. But yeah, I'll pin that for just a second. But
is that Smash
uh,
Bros. Style?
well, okay. I mean, that's fine. We can just talk. That's fine. I'll just talk about it now. So I feel okay. I guess before getting into that, though, did you play the Sega All Stars racing games?
I played a demo of one of them.
Okay, so there was the All Stars Racing and then All Stars Racing Transformed, and then recently they did the Team Sonic Racing, which I never played, and that's purely just Sonic characters
Hmm.
again, and it's kind of like a team racing sort of thing. But the other two Sega games, I love those games honestly. I thought they were fun, and they were essentially like yes, it was called Sonic and Sega All Stars or whatever, but it was really like all the Sega characters, tracks, characters, and everything, and I thought it was great. It made it
Hmm.
like different. It was super fun. I had a blast, and like with the Mario Kart 8, they've sort of, they had like the Animal Crossing characters and Link a little bit. So I'm curious they could do like a Nintendo Kart for the
Hmm.
next one and just bring everybody. But I guess a question for you though, do you think that would be too different that it would take the franchise in a different way, or do you think that
No,
would be a good idea?
no, because it's still going to be wacky. I think you just pick the right characters for it. I don't think you're going to
Mhm.
get Solid Snake like kart racing. I mean, you
Well,
could
it's
you
interesting.
could have him ride a little Metal Gear, couldn't you?
That would be pretty funny, actually.
Yeah.
Or the little. I don't know if you played Metal Gear 5, but the little legs that have
Yeah.
like the gun on it, you could just like keep running.
Well, they've got Mercedes Benz cars in Mario Kart 8.
Yep, that's true.
So,
I don't know. I've seen some people say they wouldn't want that to happen because it would be like too different from Mario Kart. But I'm like, there's been like what now 8 of these games. Like, just do they need to evolve the franchise a little bit? I don't know who these like Mario Kart purists are. It's just really weird that people really want that. But
man, I just love Mario Kart, and it's one of those games where every time I play it, like it can be years in between playing it, and then you sit down and you go, "This is awesome. I love this so much." Like there is nothing
yeah,
better than getting a group and playing some Mario Kart.
yeah, and even the older ones are still fun too. Like I can still
Hmm.
play the N64 one, or I have Double Dash upstairs, so like those are still fun. Yeah, it's a great series. So as long as they keep like the spirit of it, I feel like they could introduce other characters. But I guess that's on another tangent. But as far as the stuff that's been introduced already, yeah, I had a blast playing it, and it's $25 I think for the season pass. I guess
I got
for
the
like all of it.
expansion pack thing where you get it for free.
That's true.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, that's a good point. I guess I did too, but I think if you don't want it, then it's like I think it's $25 or something, which I will say even though Nintendo is slow to get up to speed on anything online related, when it comes to their like sizable DLC stuff, they actually
yeah.
price it pretty fairly and do a good job, I will say.
Well, it's even like the Smash Bros stuff. They've
Hmm.
effectively released like 20 new characters or something and loads of new stages at this point.
Yeah,
Um,
the Smash DLC was insane with how much content. It's like an entire other game that was added.
Nintendo's one or two extremes. Either they don't support it at all or they support it forever. If they
Yeah.
if they said they were every console generation now, when they release a new Mario Kart, they go, we're just going to release 8 new tracks every 6 to 12 months. I would be more than okay with that.
Yeah, you don't need like this. It's weird because there's the idea of like games as a service model where it just keeps going forever and ever, which I feel like if you do it with a lot of games, it could. it could breed complacency a lot of the times, and it makes things boring. You don't want to go back to it, or they can nickel and dime you to infinity and completely screw you over. But with like Nintendo's games, like Smash Brothers and Mario Kart, where it's just more characters, more tracks, little bonus music or whatever, like yeah, they don't have to release another Mario Kart or Smash game for another 20 years if they could just keep adding to it. I would be
Mhm.
fine. Like the formula is good.
Yeah. I think the biggest issue is now that I'm 29 years old, people don't come around my house to play Mario Kart and Smash Brothers.
Well, like I said, let me know. We can play online. I'm
Yeah,
always down to play.
yeah,
But I will say that the couch co-op or
yeah,
multiplayer is also really fun too.
yeah. I remember like playing Mario Kart 64 like every Friday night during summer, like where
Yeah.
you and your friends would like play, have like a mini tournament and stuff. I think it was when I
Hmm.
bought the Wii U one.
Hmm.
I got really excited about it, and I bought it, brought it home, I played it for a bit, and I was like, oh yeah, it's really good, really good. And then I sort of realized, like, wait a minute, people don't come around to play Mario Kart anymore. And then, like, that was it. Really, I kind of didn't touch it again until
And
like
then just
the Switch version.
and then reality set in and
Yeah,
had midlife crisis, all induced by Mario Kart.
yeah. But if at 20 years old I had a midlife crisis, like I'm hitting 40.
Oh goodness. So yeah, I mean in total 48 tracks. I think what would have been cool is I don't know, I'm trying to think like could they have maybe also added more characters? Like I don't really care so much about the cart customization as much,
No,
but I mean that could have been another thing they could have done, but I feel like characters could have been neat too.
yeah, that is something that I'm like, I don't need the cart customization where it's like, oh, this makes you a little slower, but you're accelerating better. I'm like, just put everyone on an equal playing ground apart from the weapons.
Right. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And
Exactly.
they're doing that for that Mario Strikers game where it was like, oh, you can customize your players. I'm like, I don't want that. Just give me the game.
Yeah, like it's all like all these. I can't remember if I said this last time or not, but there's a lot of games in recent years that keep adding almost like RPG like elements to things that absolutely do not need it.
Hmm.
And I kind of they need to cool it with that stuff, or maybe provide, or to your point, maybe provide an option where you could have like customized mode and then non-customized mode where everything was on the playing field, and
Hmm.
that'd be perfect. Just do that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'd
but
give it
yeah,
a huge thumbs up. I guess you can give it one if you want.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
for sure. I'm looking forward to the next. Do you know when the next
I
tracks are
don't think
coming, or
they've said.
did they say?
I don't
Okay,
think they've said.
okay. Are there any? I guess really quickly, any wish list? Like, is there a track that you haven't seen yet that you would love to get added?
I don't know because I forget about them until I see the trailer and go, oh yeah, I used to
Right.
love that.
Yeah, I'm trying. There's so many now because I feel like I'm thinking of something maybe from Double Dash or N64, but to be honest, it may already be in there at this point. I
Yeah,
just frankly don't remember. So it would be cool though. I guess to your point though, I didn't realize that one track was actually brand new. So maybe I don't know if with each pack they're going to do one completely new track. So that I'm actually looking
yeah,
forward to that to see what new stuff they add too.
yeah, yeah.
So that should be
All
good.
right. So you had the next thing.
Okay, so the next thing I was going to talk about was Ghostwire Tokyo. So a couple years ago at Game Awards or E3 or whatever, there was the announcement where it was an initial trailer with like Bethesda and it looked cool, but I think it was very minimal stuff that they showed about it. But then the big thing that came after was the producer who like was awkwardly coming on stage, and she sort of introduced it, didn't speak a whole lot of English if I remember correctly, and like everyone loved her and thought it was great. And then like a couple months later she left the company, which
Yeah,
I don't really fully know the story behind, to be perfectly honest. I think she's doing fine now and works at some other studio, but it was a bit of a shock because I think a lot of people loved her, and then like sort of she was almost like a figurehead for this game, and then she sort of just like left, which was kind of funny. But that was yeah, like at least a couple years ago at this point if I remember correctly. But yeah, when the game came out originally, or sorry, it was premiered originally, I definitely was interested. So of course, the weeb in me is gonna like it because it's Tokyo in Japan. Like I'm certainly gonna be piqued anytime something like that's going to come out. But then the horror aspect is something that interested me as well because behind me on my bookshelf, I got all kinds of manga, but in particular horror manga from a more modern creator called Junji Ito, who's who's incredible. And if anyone who ever wants to read like Japanese horror manga, highly recommend anything by him, because it's going to be great. So it kind of had a bit of that horror aesthetic, and that's something, of course, I'm just going to be interested in no matter what. So then it came out, didn't read too much into it because I'm trying to my best in recent years to stay away from not so much on the spoiler side, but like just random reviews and stuff of like, because it's just, I don't even care at this point anymore. Like if something piques my interest, I'm probably gonna check it out. I don't know for
Yeah.
you. I don't know if you do anything similar where you just don't bother looking at that stuff anymore?
It depends on the game. If there's something I know, unless it's like an E3 or showcase trailer,
Mm.
I'll watch it. Other than that, for the most part, I'm happy to avoid it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, this game is kind of like I'll call a semi-open world game where it's not like Horizon, like I mentioned a minute ago. It's more, you're very much in this contained map, but you can explore a crap ton. And then through the narrative of the game, you're of course going to open certain areas, but then other areas you kind of unlock and have to explore just on your own if you choose to, and you certainly don't have to. And this game, there were a few side quests that I ended up doing that were actually a little bit more enjoyable than, for example, something like Horizon, where it wasn't just necessarily like a fetch quest type of thing. It was, oh, you had to like talk to these spirits to like unlock something about them to like move them on to the next part of their the afterlife or something like that. And
It's
it
how
was
Japan
interesting.
works.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, anytime I visit Japan, I always do a couple side quests to free some spirits to move them on. It's typical. But this game is neat in a general sense. Like I would almost call this like a first person shooter in a weird way because it's first person and you have these laser wire things coming out of your hands to like essentially trap these spirits and or blast them away. And maybe you've seen it in a trailer, but the reason why it's called Ghostwire is because you have these almost like strings that come out of your hands that you have to like bend and move them in different ways to like capture them. To be honest, it's pretty much all visual. It's not like I'm actually like moving
Hmm.
the joysticks in any particular direction to make it happen or anything like that. But it looks cool. But overall, yeah, you have this spirit that's kind of like possessed your body, and he's the one who's helping you use these powers, and then that's how you kind of get stronger throughout the game. And there's some upgrade paths and stuff like that. But overall, it's like a 8.5. Well, for me, it took me about 8.5 hours to finish the main story. But once again, there's obviously a bunch of side quests. But for me, and I know we've talked about this before in terms of, well, just a minute ago, of the open world versus the more linear, but kind of what goes in hand with that is like super long playtime versus short playtime. And so, for example, Horizon took me like 25 hours compared to this 8.5 or so, like I said. So, and that's perfectly fine. A short game does not make a difference to me
Hmm.
in any way, shape, or form. You could, of course, maybe argue price points could be a little bit different depending on that, but for the most
Yeah.
part, a short game makes no difference to me personally.
No, one of the best games I've played in the last 10 years is called To the Moon,
Hmm.
and it's essentially 2 hours.
Hmm.
Also, I don't know if you ever played Gone Home. Um,
Briefly.
yeah, but that's like 2-3 hours,
Hmm.
and just the way that tells the story, the way it's constructed, is perfect for that length of time. And I would argue that it's better than the majority of games I've played.
Yeah, exactly. And once again, of course, it does come down to personal preference of if you're trying to get like more bang for your buck or you want that replayability in the sense of like hours and hours and hours of content, sure, but that's at least for us, it sounds like yeah, there's not a lot of value in that for people who want that more story driven kind of tight sort of game. But obviously, even with a game like this, like I said, even though it's a shorter game, you can still do the side quests, and at least they're a little bit more interesting than the typical just fetch quests or like go shoot people and then you're done. Because especially because the environment, I think, facilitates it. Like if this was just another random open environment, maybe I wouldn't feel the same. But because it is a very unique, like Tokyo horror themed, like they put a lot of care into it. I can tell, and it's an interesting game for sure.
So, what would you say it is similar to? Because when I've watched the trailers, I can't work out whether it's like a walking simulator, a FPS, or if it's more like a kind of Skyrim type first person.
Definitely more like FPS. Honestly, I would say it's a first person shooter. I mean, it's a first person shooter in the sense of well, yes, it's first person, and you have a weapon that you're essentially shooting bullets, and you have instead of ammo types, you have like power types. So it's very much the mechanics of a first person shooter, but rather than it being like a Call of Duty or something like that, it's a very story focused first person shooter. Like I could almost I mean, to be honest, I could almost say it's similar to like Half Life in the sense, like, would you consider Half Life a first person shooter? I guess.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's that whole thing of where people get angry if you call Metroid Prime a first-person shooter. They're like, it's a
Yeah,
first-person adventure, and I'm like, you
exactly. Yeah,
get upset about something worthwhile.
yeah. No, that's a good way to put it. It's a first person adventure with shooter mechanics tied to it, essentially.
Yeah,
And yes, there, as I mentioned ago, with the RPG elements, there are aspects of that because you have upgrade paths for powers. I will say though, it wasn't super obnoxious though, and it was fine. Yeah, and they maybe could have simplified it a little bit. I don't think any of them like appreciably would drastically change the game, to be perfectly honest. But
yeah.
it was fine. Like it wasn't anything crazy. So I would say definitely a thumbs up. Would definitely recommend getting it. I think I'd be interested to see if they're going to turn this into a series, or maybe I don't know. Maybe they'll do downloadable content potentially. They haven't said anything about
I
that. I
don't
don't
know
know if
how
it's
well it's done, to be honest.
yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
I think I think generally it's been reviewed well, kind of in the average 7-ish, kind of
Hmm.
70% sort of category. So it's certainly not doing bad, but I don't. It's probably one of those cases where it's been, I would imagine, more critically acclaimed than commercially successful. I guess if I had to take a guess. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say like, especially if you're not into the horror or Japanese kind of aesthetic thing, it's certainly not like a you must go out and buy this now type of game.
Yeah.
But if you do like that type of genre and that type of design, I think you'll definitely enjoy it. And it's not a first person shooter in the sense of, like I said, Call of Duty. It's just more you're shooting things, but in a kind of a bit of a twist sort of thing. So I would say thumbs up for sure. It's definitely worth
Yeah.
playing, especially if you have a PS5. And so that coming back to what I was saying a minute ago, the DualSense controller stuff, once again, it's not like a game seller for me, but it does take advantage of it with like certain spells have certain resistances. You do some touchpad stuff, but nothing like too crazy. But so that, I mean, that's pretty neat too, I guess.
Yeah. Sounds cool.
All right, turn it back over to you for the last one.
Okay, so I went to see the latest. Well, it's not Harry Potter movie. I think they're officially calling it the Wizarding World franchise,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. But Fantastic
Ooh.
Beasts is like that big in the corner because this franchise hasn't quite taken off like they thought. So most people are
Uh-huh.
just calling it The Secrets of Dumbledore.
Yeah.
And when the credits rolled, I turned to my wife and went, "What was the secret of Dumbledore?"
But that's the secret. You don't know.
There was no secrets revealed. None. We
Okay,
thought
seems like
Triangle Strategy was a stupid name for a game last week. All right.
yeah, it seems like some false advertising here.
Yeah, honestly, the Conflict of Dumbledore would have been a better name. Like, I just come up with that right now.
Conflict of Dumbledore.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, so here's my thing with Harry Potter. Okay,
Okay.
it's okay. I've never quite understood why it's as loved as it is.
How
I've
dare
read
you?
all the books. I've watched all the movies,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I don't like doing like scores out of
Mm-hmm.
like 5 or 10, but
Mm-hmm.
every one of them I would be like is 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
Very fine, nothing amazing, nothing bad,
Uh-huh.
right? But this is just weird. Where I don't, yeah, again, I don't dislike it. It just feels like a studio trying to make a franchise out of something they're struggling to make a franchise with, rather than let it grow organically.
Yeah, well, they had the success. I mean, it's such a lucrative Harry Potter is
Hmm.
such a lucrative franchise. Obviously, it still brings in money. There's the theme park at Universal. There's games and books. Yeah, I mean, it's so easy for
Shows,
exactly.
merchandise, yeah.
There's so much for it. So obviously, the natural extension would be, well, what else can we milk out of this from a movie? And then that's when the first ones started. And I guess really quickly, those first two movies, I I watched them as well, and I'm like, they're fine. It was one of those things where like it's clear that they're doing it to extend a franchise past its original end, or I guess more prequel, I guess I should say for these. But like, it's not really adding anything of value to the story.
No, it honestly feels like they're like, right, well, we gotta make more. Like, Disney's got their Marvel and Star Wars,
Right.
Universal's got their Fast and Furious and Jurassic Park, and then Warner
Mm-hmm.
Brothers is like, okay, what have we got? Right, well, Harry Potter. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's make a universe out of that. Okay, what do we do? I don't know.
Right.
You know, we can't make Harry Potter 8 because we can't. Um, uh, World War II Hitler wizard.
Hitler wizard.
Like, that's what it is. Honestly,
Yeah.
the Nazi imagery in this is just so heavy-handed because there's part of me where, like, I don't want to spoil this movie, but it's
That's all
most of
right.
it set in Germany,
Okay.
pre-World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really heavy-handed on the Nazi imagery type stuff, right? But it's the wizard version. So there's me sitting there going, so is there also real Hitler in this universe?
Okay, okay. This is something that I've had the biggest gripe about with the Potter stuff in general, is because they start out in the Harry Potter films in the real, like Harry's in the real
Yeah.
world. He's in a fucking cupboard underneath some stairs. So clearly that's
Mhm.
real world. And then obviously they go into Hogwarts. But like in the real world, they have computers and phones and cars. But yet in the wizarding world, it's like they forget.
Well,
Like,
the original books and stuff are set in like the early 90s.
I mean, true, but
Yeah,
you could argue there was
yeah,
still
yeah.
telecommunication.
Yeah, I've never understood. Like, I can understand like owls might get things quicker than the postal service, but then
Sure.
surely like Dumbledore could have had AOL connected to like
Right.
Hogwarts.
AIM chat room at Hogwarts or something.
Yeah,
Like
sending an email like your son's died is a lot quicker than by owl.
exactly. So I mean, obviously, to your point, for the Fantastic Beasts, they're World War II era. So obviously, you could then make the better argument of, oh, there's not that communication or whatever. But to your point, though, there's still that question of like, is there a real world parallel to that? And yeah, and if I remember correctly, at the end of the last Fantastic Beasts, there was like they were having this dream, or Grindelwald was having this dream, and then that's when like the Nazi imagery started to me. Like, I think that's where it
Mm,
started, if I remember correctly. But then I was like, this took a really weird turn at the end of that movie, and then it
yeah.
sounds like this movie is just a continuation of that.
It kind of actually grounds it a little from where the last one left off. It kind
Okay.
of seems to rein it back in. What I don't understand is they could have ended it here, but they
Mm-hmm.
didn't because they clearly want to carry it on.
Mm-hmm.
But based on the box office numbers, apparently it's like the worst opening for a Harry Potter movie ever.
Not
So
surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is it. Um, so as I said, I don't want to spoil anything. But this is in the first 2-3 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Dumbledore's in a little cafe. Grindelwald comes and sits with him, and he's like, I was in love with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the closest thing to a secret, which I knew wasn't a secret, that
Mm-hmm.
Dumbledore was gay because J.K. Rowling has said it before,
Sure.
right? That,
Mm-hmm.
and yet again, I don't want to spoil it, but the whole Hitler comparison. So, like, don't know how much you know about Hitler, but he was arrested and he wasn't allowed to run for public office for a long time.
Sure.
There were
Yeah.
riots in Germany, and they essentially said, like, look, let him run, and when he fails, we can, like, it at least shuts people up. But as you know,
Yeah.
he went on to win and whatnot. And they kind of do the
Yeah.
same thing here. This guy goes, we've got to let the public have their voice, otherwise there's going to be unrest. So let's
Mm-hmm.
let Wizard Hitler run for office. And so I'm like, okay, they're going to have a big vote. right? But like when we go to vote, we go to a place and we cast our vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the Wizarding universe, they have a magical deer, like Doe,
Mm-hmm. Go on.
that chooses the next like wizard emperor, right? And
All
this
right.
doe goes up and whatever one it bows to. So the people don't have a voice still.
So what's the story behind this deer?
Like one's born every 100 years or something. I don't know. Like they don't really explain it that well. Um,
What the fuck?
but this is it. I'm like, so the public don't have a voice. So why they're still going to be annoyed because a magical
Yeah.
deer picked the wizard
Yeah, what is
emperor.
this? That sounds like a more interesting story than the actual movie. How did this
Yeah,
deer situation happen?
they kind of show how the deer comes to be, but that's beside the point. But it's like
Okay.
the problem I have with the Harry Potter world is it is a kid's book, right?
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with adults liking it, but it is a kid's book, and when
Sure.
you start adding more to it, the more it starts falling apart.
Sure.
Right? When it's just Harry at school, you can, you see all the things online like, oh, what you going to apply with a potions degree for, like things like that. But the
Yeah, I mean,
moment he's
I would say the book's kind of, if I'm not mistaken, sort of. I think I heard Rowling say this at one point, but she kind of wrote the books as the demographic was simultaneously aging as
yeah,
well, and so it kind of follows that a little bit. But to your point, there's still there's a reasonable cutoff of like how much real world shit you throw into this, because then it's just going to get overcomplicated and all that.
yeah, during Harry Potter and the books, you don't see much outside of the school. There's the odd time where like Harry goes off to like a wizard tournament somewhere, and like you're
Yeah,
like, oh, this is what it's actually like outside of the school in the real wizard world. But when they're trying to like explain how the government works in the wizarding world, it starts to fall apart. I
right.
think that's the big issue. Is this isn't a franchise where you can over explain, and that's what they're trying to do because that's what you have to
Hmm.
do to milk a franchise.
Right. Exactly. So I guess the other question I was going to ask you, was it jarring to see instead of Johnny Depp, Mads Mikkelsen?
No, because like you sort of know going in. If I'd gone in and it had just been and I hadn't read about it yet, because Mads Mikkelsen's not doing a impression of Johnny Depp in the second one. He is Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing because Mads Mikkelsen's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he's a fucking great actor.
Yeah.
It's actually funny because my wife loves Mads Mikkelsen because Hannibal that he was in is an awesome show, and he's been in it. Like even his Danish movie, I think Danish if I'm not mistaken.
I believe
I
so.
want to
Yeah.
think so. His like we've watched even some of those movies that were like subtitled, or whatever, and he's a phenomenal actor. He's great. So like
Mhm.
that's cool that he's in it, and that's like the only reason, honestly, why my wife wants to see it is because he's in it.
He, for the most part, like, yes, he's cool, but he doesn't have a lot to do.
Okay, that's
He
kind of what I
just
figured.
he more just looks like scours at people and stuff. Like there's no one in this that you come out going like, oh my god, they gave like a performance there. Like Jude Law, great actor,
Hmm.
gives a great performance, but it's not one where you're like, oh yeah, like Oscar worthy.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seems odd, though, that they want to try and continue this, and oh, the other news story that, of course, came out with what's his face, Ezra Miller getting like arrested again, and I don't know, is he in this movie a
He's
whole lot?
barely in it to be honest.
Okay.
I couldn't I could you could tell me he never had a line like and I would believe you because I just don't remember. He more just looked at stuff and
Okay.
yet again, there's a lot of staring.
Perfect. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seems like there's really not a whole. They're really scraping the bottom of the barrel for this.
Which honestly I think they've kind of painted themselves into a corner because
Mm,
I feel like you could have gone into an office with 10 people
mm.
and been like, right, today we're going to just knock out some ideas. And I feel like nearly every idea they came out with would have been a bit better than what they have got themselves into here.
Yeah, I'm wondering if even if this is the end of the Fantastic Beasts attempt, and they try doing something else for a different movie, explore like a different corner of the universe, I'm curious of like what would be compelling enough to get people to still be interested. I
They'll
don't, I don't,
throw,
I don't
they'll
know.
throw 20, 30 million at Daniel Radcliffe one day and be like,
Well, well, there's that. I mean, you can continue in that sense, but I mean, like, even if it's not the main Harry Potter crew, if it's just
yeah.
something else, like I don't know, and I wouldn't even want it to be a prequel. Like, how could they push it forward? And I honestly, I don't know if they can. Like, the main bad guy, not Dumbledore, Voldemort, like he's obviously done. Unless, oh surprise, he had a twin brother locked away for years and he's coming back or some shit. But
So I
yeah.
did see the West End show, The Cursed Child,
Mm. Hmm.
and I mean that's like a review another week, but like
Hmm.
that is set after the movies, and
Okay.
there is some kind of stuff there, but it's also wrapped up in that 3 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, what would you say? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I mean, it's not an awful movie. I know I made fun of like the whole
Yeah.
political dough, uh, but like it's not a bad movie.
Yeah,
It's just
sure.
not a great movie. Like if you like
Yeah,
Harry Potter, Wizard and World stuff, then yeah. If you don't, then no. It's like the Horizon thing. Like for the
right,
most part, I feel like you know whether you're going to like it when you go into it. It's just
right.
hard with movies like this because you're also looking at the big picture
Hmm.
with all these franchise stuff. No
Yeah.
movie can you really look at nowadays as a singular movie.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it sucks that literally everything has to be a franchise now. Unfortunately.
Remember when Ghostbusters was just a good movie? Like that was it. Like they just made movies hour and a half, 2 hours, and that was it. It was fine. But now it's like, well, what's sequel potential here?
Yeah. What is this continuity that you're speaking of? Well, we don't need any of that here. Yeah, exactly. But all right, that's good to know. I mean, I'm sure I'll watch it at some point, probably not in theaters anytime soon. I'm sure we'll rent it for a couple bucks at some point. But yeah, I in general with Harry Potter, I mean, I'll kind of pay attention to what they do moving forward, but nothing super compelling from what I can see,
Yeah, the
unfortunately.
game looks cool though. The game does look cool.
That's right. Yeah, I did see a trailer of that. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how that turns out, I suppose.
Yeah.
But cool. Well, I think that'll about wrap it up for today. Thanks for the discussion as always, of course.
All
Some
right.
good
Thank you.
topics today. So, for anyone watching, if there's anything of interest that you think would be good that's come out recently that you'd want to hear us talk about, definitely let us know. But until next time, we'll be back hopefully here in another week. And then in the meantime, make sure to follow us here on YouTube, of course, on Twitter at Tojo Dojo. And then on Twitch, I'm streaming here and there as well. So thanks for tuning in. And then until next time, talk to you later.
Bye.